Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Sanibel Online Writers Conference 2022. I'm Tom DeMarchi, and I'm here with Jason Ellick, Allison Langer, and Andrea Askowitz. Morning, everybody.
Morning, Tom.
Hi.
How's everyone doing? All right, great. So we're just going to do a quick introduction here to let you know why we're online, but most of you probably already know. Hurricane Ian devastated Southwest Florida a month ago, and we had planned on being on Sanibel, but Sanibel Causeway was destroyed, Sanibel infrastructure was destroyed. It is absolutely heartbreaking. And we talked a long time about whether we were going to do anything at all, knowing that we couldn't be on the island live and in person. And we felt the best way that we could support and honor those who have been affected by the storm was to carry on online and to just offer our support. And in that spirit, we are going to, throughout today, provide links for different organizations that are offering hurricane relief to those on the island and in Southwest Florida who were affected. And actually, Jason has been doing a lot of the legwork on that. Jason, can you tell us a little bit about the organizations we're partnering with?
Sure, there's a handful of them. We have three main ones we're gonna mention to you guys today. The first is Eagles in Need, and that is a university resource fund that provides support for FGCU students, staff, and faculty. A lot of our students were affected with their housing situations. A lot of our staff were affected, and faculty as well in the area. So that just is a general fund for anybody on campus really who needs that kind of support. The next one is Community Housing and Resources, and this is a nonprofit on the island that's mission is to provide affordable housing for the families and individuals who serve the Sanibel community. So those are all of the workers in all of the wonderful places that you love to visit when you're on Sanibel for the conference. So this will help those people, take care of their homes. And the third resource is one called Put It on Pete's Tab, which was given to me by one of my buddies who works at one of the hotels on the island. And it is a big, long list of a bunch of different people, basically, that are involved in hospitality. And it also has a more general fund that you can donate to for people in the hospitality industry who work on the island. You can specify where your donations go on Put It on Pete's tab if there's somebody that's not on that list or some place that's not on that list. So it's really a really good resource. So we'll be throwing those links up for you guys and reminding you about them. We appreciate you showing up and watching today. We are here in solidarity with our, community on Sanibel, even though we can't be on the island today. And we just kind of want to remember that as we go through. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce two of my favorite voices in writing. I usually hear these voices coming out of my car stereo as I'm listening to Writing Class Radio, which is a podcast of a writing class. It's closing in on 150 episodes. I think they're on season 14. I highly recommend it, especially if you're into writing true personal stories. Needless to say, these two have tons of experience. So I and Tom are going to disappear and let them take it from here. So please welcome Writing Class Radio hosts, Andrea Askowitz and Allison Langer. Take it away, guys.
Thanks so much. Wow, thanks for listening, Jason. Love it.
Great seeing you guys. Have fun.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having us. We love Sanibel Island Writing Conference in any form. Yeah. So we're going to go over our top 10 tips, which is actually 11. And
it's a baker's 10.
True. It's a Writing Class Radio's 10. And at the end, I think we're going to take questions if we have time for questions. So we'll just start with our first and one of our favorite tips, which is
ground.
Oh, there it is.
The reader. Ground the reader is a really good one. Sometimes that doesn't happen when we're doing prompts. It's because we just pile in right away. We're just unloading whatever's on our mind. But when we go back, we always recommend when you go back to edit your piece is to really make sure that the reader is grounded. We know who, what, when, where. And we always get to the why later. Basically, that's what the story ends up basically being about. It could be, why are you writing this? But why? What's going on in your life? Or how has this impacted you? The why is right there.
Allison, you just said a really interesting thing that I want to pile on, which is we at Writing Class Radio love to write to prompts. We are huge believers in just like get a prompt and go and write. And when we write to prompts, we don't think about any of these tips. These tips are for second, third, fourth, fifth, 100th drafts. And I am a huge believer in doing a lot of rewrites. But I have a great example, I have a great example of a ground the reader moment that we just got yesterday. So Writing Class Radio is a podcast that airs true personal stories. But what's cool is that you can submit your stories to us, and we get submissions we're pretty much always open to submissions. So you can check our website for guidelines. Basically, we want your best 1,200 words. So yesterday we got a story, and I just want to read the beginning because the grounding is so great. And we're like, Allison and I are like reading stories. And this one, you'll see why it totally jumped out. Okay, here it goes. I stare at the glowing blue game board on my iPhone, playing Words with Friends with my mom. I debate with myself whether or not I can play the word dildo. I am 52 years old. I sacrifice points and play dill instead. Why am I censoring myself, damn it? Are you in? Right? I mean, first of all, anyone who says dildo at the top is like my friend. But even apart from that, we know who, a 52-year-old woman. We know what, she's playing Words with Friends with her mom. We know where, she's like sitting on her phone. We don't know why. And this is a promise of a story about a relationship with her mom. This story is going to be on our next episode. It's by Shauna Kenny. Anyway, stay tuned.
Does she know already we're putting it on? Do we just,
Yes.
because we, okay, good.
Yes, she does.
Because we usually contact you and say, we love this. And
Yeah, we did.
yeah. And can we put it on? And we're not usually that good at turnaround, but when we read it, we were like, oh my gosh, we have to get this on right away.
Right.
Oh, Pamela McBride. I mean, was that Pamela or Pamela McBride? One of our favorite Pamelas. Pamela McBride. Yeah.
Oh, someone said they didn't think that was a word you could use with Words with Friends. It is. It is. You can. Because you'll find out. If you read her story, you'll find out later why I know that. Okay, let's go to number 2.
Write like you speak. Okay, so I just finished teaching 7th and 8th grade English. I was the long-term sub for the teacher who was out on maternity leave. I got to start the year with these kids, and I tried to pound them with writing. In fact, the episode that's on right now is one of the students that I had wrote this insane essay. So we put it on. But I love their voice so much. And what ends up happening is we all start talking alike. We start thinking alike. Andrea and I will send stories back and forth, and we already know what the other person's going to say. But what's most important is that we retain our voice, no matter how many times you edit, to really, if you speak, in crazy, amazing prose, well, go ahead and put it in. But if you don't do that. Use your colloquialisms, use your voice, show us who you are. And that's what makes a story. This woman whose essay we got was not like every single essay you've ever read. I could hear her voice in it, right?
Write like you speak is, to me, the most important tip because, I mean, I think what Allison's getting at is because it's about writing true stories is about the truth. And if you're writing like you speak and not like someone else speaks, you're writing your authentic truth. And
actually, you just sent me my last essay that I sent you. You sent back and said, you're trying to sound too smart or something. Maybe it's because you've been teaching.
Yeah, exactly. I busted you on, wait, this doesn't sound like you, Allison.
There's Kathy. Yeah. Kathy is one of my co-teachers at school. Yay, she's here. Hi, Kathy Kelstrom. Sorry.
Okay, so write like you speak. Absolutely, for sure. You know what? I want to add something that I just learned recently that's sort of kind of related. I like to use tags, like when you're writing dialogue and you're like, oh, do you see what I just did? And you're like, hey, she's going blah, 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 blah. So I used to think that you should only use said, I said, he said, but that might not be true to your voice. So if you are from, I don't know, Massachusetts, and in Massachusetts, people speak all, she's all, or maybe that's California. I don't know. But if all is the way you speak, or if someone goes, then use those words as your speaking tags. You're confused,
then-
Allison?
Yeah, no, because doesn't it like take your IQ down a few when people are reading that? Goes and like, no?
No, I don't think so. I think
Okay.
if it's your authentic voice.
How do you feel
Then-
about like Pablo said or said Pablo?
I don't know. I don't think that matters to me.
It matters to me. I don't
Which
know
do you
why.
like better?
I like Pablo said.
I like Pablo said.
because you would never say she went down to the store, said Andrea.
You're right.
Yeah,
You're
no,
right.
that's
I like
healthy.
Andrea said.
Yeah.
Yes. Land
Okay.
on the said, or goes, or is all. Okay. Number 3.
Omit those needless words where goes and like. I might cut those. And you might cut them too. But I think in your first draft, go ahead and put them in. What I think it also the right like you speak that I usually refer to is like when I was teaching these guys in prison, they use trap house or jargon from prison or growing up or whatever it is. And their jargon is something that's commonly used, but maybe not in my world. And so I want to hear their common jargon. So sorry to go back a tip, but now I'm thinking that was also something we should have said.
Right. And that's right like you speak. But right
Yeah.
now we're on omit needless words. And Pam Lear wants to call it. Hi, Pam Lear. You're the coolest. What I love about there's omit needless words to me is so much fun. First of all, I think it's important for 2 reasons. One, no one has time to listen. I mean, our attention span. Have you watched Rocky recently, Allison?
No, I'm watching Dahmer.
Well, I'm saying like have you watched Flashdance recently?
No.
So
but
the
I love
movies,
those. But yeah, I probably couldn't manage through.
They
at
are
this point.
so slow now.
Yeah.
I tried to watch them with my teenage kids. They are boring. The classics of the 80s and 90s are too slow. So what's happened is like we've sped up, which is why we need to omit needless words, because no one has time or patience to sit through someone's blah, blah, blahs. No one. The other thing I love about omitting needless words is it's fun. Like you can
do it on somebody else, not you.
I like doing it on my own.
Ugh.
On my own, I do. I like looking at a sentence. I do. I like looking at one sentence and seeing where I could take words out to make it tighter and punchier. And I also like doing it on the grand scale. So you can do it on a sentence level, and also you need to take paragraphs and sometimes full pages. Sometimes you need to take them out of your story if they don't lead to the why, which is what we're going to get to that in a few tips.
What is like totally whatever? Is that something we need to read, or like how dumb are we? Like
Wait,
totally
what?
whatever. Everyone's saying like totally whatever. That must be some sort of instruction or something, or poetry that talks about throwing those words in or something. I don't know. I'm gonna write that down, like totally whatever.
Yeah, someone did write that. What does that mean, Melissa?
This is the thing I love about teaching.
like totally whatever is a poem. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this is the thing I love about teaching, and literally it happened all the time in 7th and 8th grade, is that these kids bring up things I've never heard of. And you're always learning. And I just love that so much. So now I have a new poem. Awesome. Thank you.
Totally whatever. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, let's move on to number
Like
4.
what?
No, number 4. Actually, I don't know. They're out of order.
Okay.
Create a reliable, vulnerable narrator.
Okay. So let's talk about how we do that. So sometimes on college essays or in essays in general, people will try to pound you with all the stuff that they do really well, how great they are, how wonderful they are. And actually, I'm always like, no, that doesn't really create a reliable, vulnerable narrator. But if you immediately start with your failures, your insecurities or something, people are absolutely going to trust you. So we suggest really trying to get to
We
the thing
suggest
that-
being the biggest asshole in your story.
yeah.
That's what we suggest, if you can. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's impossible.
Yeah. Well, not really for me.
No,
I
you're
have an
good
easy
at
time
it.
with that.
You're
Pilar!
very good at being
saw
the biggest
Pilar's on
asshole
I know. Well, I kind of am an asshole a lot, so I have a lot to draw from.
because you're writing the truth. But when you do,
Do we have any
people-
examples for being being vulnerable?
no, I'm not ready with that.
I could do that. I mean, if you're complaining about your mom and your relationship with your mom or your husband or your whoever, and you're not willing to say what you do wrong or how you maybe contributed to this, then no one's going to believe you because no relationship is one-sided and no one's either all good or all bad.
Excellent. That was well done.
Thanks.
I want to take a quick moment to do a public service announcement for Writing Class Radio. If I want to tell everybody that every second Saturday of the month, we do a tips clinic like this where actually you write and then read out loud. And if you want to be part of that tips clinic, please put your name and your email in the chat. And we also have 2 writing groups every week, Tuesday at noon and Wednesday at 6. And those are called First Draft. And they're just amazing times to get together and write with a supportive, cool, fun group. So if you want to be part of that, please put your name, and I like to know where you're from, in the chat, and we'll catch it later and we'll invite you to both of those events. And if you want to just email me directly, my email is andrea@writingclassradio.com. Can someone put that in the chat? I'm not coordinated enough to do that. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So let's go to the next tip.
Yeah.
Show and tell. You love this one. Go ahead.
So I love this one because show and tell is what a written story is uniquely able to do. Like in a movie, you can't tell.
You can't get the thought bubble.
Yeah, you don't get the thought bubble. But in a story, you get the scene and the commentary about what's going on in the scene.
And we have tried in some of our prompts and writing groups and classes and stuff. We said, okay, just show or just tell. And it's not as powerful. In fact, we have an episode on that. It's way back in the beginning. And if you're interested in knowing what that one is, of course, we're not prepared with that, but shoot us an email and we'll help you.
Find it.
Because
it was a really cool experiment that went
It was
bad.
so good. Yeah, It was amazing. So that's why we recommend both showing and telling. For sure. Works better.
We're big proponents of showing and telling.
Because it's go to a scene. In case anybody's like, how do you show? It's just take us to a scene. So you can say, I'm having a really bad day. This whole week has been horrible. Then you can just go to like, yesterday, I walked into work and I was wearing the wrong clothes and they asked me to go home. Whatever it is, you're taking us right into that moment. So you're showing us your bad week, your bad day.
Actually, the very beginning of the story that I read earlier, Shauna Kenny's story, is you're in scene. So she does both. Should I read it again? That first paragraph?
Is there another paragraph?
Well,
she shows and tells really well.
She does. Well, this is just the one I have in front of me. So she says, I stare at the glowing blue game board on my iPhone. We're in scene. We're seeing someone looking at her phone, playing Words with Friends with my mom. I debate with myself. Now she's telling whether or not I can play the word dildo. I am 52 years old. I sacrifice points and play dill instead. We're back in the scene. Why am I censoring myself? Damn it. Show.
I love the damn it.
Because that's also voice.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Yeah, no, she's great.
Yep.
Okay.
That was a really good example of how to show and tell in very few words. Yeah.
Yeah.
Best morning session. Oh my God, the dildo again. Yeah. Okay.
I know. Oh my God. Don't even start her. Don't start her on the P word. Like Andrea loves to start every story with a dildo. So that's, I think, part of why she loves this story so much.
Oh, I love to start every story with dildo. I'm 14. Okay.
Aren't we all?
Next is like what?
Okay, good. I love like what. So this is really, really important because if you're just saying, I've been insecure since I was 12. I want to know like what are you insecure about? I didn't like my hair. I thought that I was overweight. I didn't think I was smart enough. So those are things that we can grab onto. And so now, and I tried a lot of things over the years. What things? So what did we try? So we see the journey, we see who you are, we get to know more about you. So stuff like that, that's all like what? Details bring a very specific situation and it makes it universal. So, oh, I like Tom's toothpaste. Oh, she buys she buys, Kraft macaroni and cheese when she's at the store. So these little things bring us closer to the narrator. It makes the narrator reliable and vulnerable, and we trust them. So
I
details are
actually
amazing.
I'm ready with this one. I have another example.
Oh, good.
Okay. This example is from a story called Epiphany in the Baby Food Aisle by Jessie Klein. Now, I just have to say that this is one of my favorite essays ever. I'm literally jealous of this essay. And there's not a single dildo in this essay. And I still love it. Okay. It was in the cut very recently of the New York Magazine. Oh, but wait. Okay. I'm going to read the paragraph that shows like what. But before that, so every Saturday on Instagram, I started doing Saturday stories we study. So I do these like little clips, and this is one that's coming out today. They're also on our website, writingclassradio.com. So every week there's a new story that we study, and you can read the whole story, and we tell you why we love it. We're okay. Okay, here we go. Nom noms are these magical little biscuits that are probably about 99% air. The rest is a mysterious blend of, I think, sweet potato juice and styrofoam. Every cookie is reliably about 5 inches long and shaped like a mini surfboard, with very minor irregularities around the edge. I'm sure they could be baked to be perfectly smooth, but I think they're going for some kind of wabi-sabi, hand-hewn aesthetic, which I appreciate in theory, but it also feels like an unnecessary effort given the audience. Okay, so this woman is describing baby cookies. So she didn't just say, I was in the, baby food aisle looking for cookies. She names them Nom Noms, which is her own name. Then she tells us that they're like styrofoam, that they're shaped like surfboards, that they have this crazy edge. Like, we know everything about these cookies, and we also know so much about her. Like, we get her quirky brain. And she's so funny. Like, she likes the idea of them, but like, given the audience, babies, they don't really need to be that detailed. Ugh.
Love it.
I know.
She's master. She is a master.
I know. If anyone knows her, I want her on our podcast, but I haven't been able to reach her. Her name is Jessie Klein.
Jessie Klein.
Yeah.
Harper said she loves Jessie Klein. I saw Harper Sparrow. I saw Maxine pop up. I love you guys. Love Jessie Klein.
I know. She's so freaking funny. Okay.
All right. Next.
What's the story about? Why?
I like this one last. Can we shift? And can we go to tangents and keep it simple?
I don't think that's on here, babes.
Or stakes?
But we can come back to what's the story about later.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is only number 7. So how could this be? These are not my tips. These are
our tips.
I know they're ours, but I have refined them.
Jesus
Whatever. They all are the
Christ.
same thing. They're just, I'm a little control freaky.
Yeah.
So, I know, right?
Like
are you
what?
guys getting that?
Like trying to make sure that the tips are in exactly the order you want them. Okay, let's go then to end sentences, paragraphs, and story on the strongest note. This is a tip that particularly works for stories told out loud, which is in our interest because we're a podcast and we air our stories to the ear so people listen to them. And but I do think it works also on the page. The
Yeah.
landing, the story, every story like really needs to land. It needs to say what it needs to say with that final like boom, I got it.
Sometimes people land it and then they do like a prepositional phrase, like, he died in the baby food aisle. No.
Right.
So like I have an example that I always like to
But that's
use.
a great example. In the
Thanks.
baby food aisle, he
He
died.
died.
Died is better.
Yeah.
Land that sentence on died.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's true for sentences, paragraphs, stories, chapters, everything. Like you want to land it so the person turns the page, like it just hits them. And it's so obvious when people don't do it now because we're so used to it that I like cut it in my brain. It's actually hard for me to listen to people who do that because then I'm like cut, and I can't really tune into the story. So if you're sending things in to editors and they are seeing story after story, it's going to do the same thing to them. So be careful. Yeah. Go through every line by line of your story and see if you're doing that because it is really important. It does change everything.
I mean, getting these tips, they're like inside me now because I've been studying them and teaching them for like 23 years. And frankly, these tips have ruined a lot of stories and movies and books for me because I just see people violating them all the time. I will say, though, that what matters more than any of these tips is the truth. You can break every single one of these tips. For example, 50 Shades of Grey. I mean,
I love that. I know you hated it, but it had a good story.
Right. And it told a truth. And I'm going to bring dildos back.
Thank God. Maxine will be happy.
Okay.
Maxine Poop, go.
I don't know if dildos were featured prominently in 50 Shades of Grey because I couldn't get past page 96. My wife and I read it to each other out loud. We were like, this is garbage. When is it going to get sexy? But I think that it did step into something that's really true about what straight American women are experiencing. And that is bad sex with their men. And this book gave them, they told that truth and then gave women hope. Am I right? Is that the?
Yeah, that's
okay,
true.
So basically that was just a.
It also gave us like a brief moment to like just kind of escape, into somebody else's life.
But it had to step into some kind of truth or else.
But you know what else it had?
What?
You know what else it had? One of our other tips, stakes. It had stakes.
Oh, it did? I don't know because I didn't get past 96. Page 96.
Okay, whatever. Well, it only had 50 shades. Oh,
I did get past page 96 of 50 Shades.
Okay.
My point is these tips, what matters most is the truth is my point. These tips are cool, but tell the truth and tell a good story. Yeah.
Yeah. And what does matter too is stakes. Because sometimes we get this very sweet stories of like, a marriage that's done a recovery or something, but the stakes weren't high enough. I don't know. And sometimes people kill the stakes right at the tension and stuff right at the beginning. And I tend to do that too sometimes because I want to tell the story and then I want to get to it. So you have to look at tension and stakes and make sure you're keeping people engaged. Because if there are no stakes, why do we care? Why are we reading this?
Stakes, y'all. So basically stakes, they are all important. Think about a way to kind of think about stakes is to ask yourself, like, why does it matter to you? And why would the story matter to anyone else? I do want to jump to the one that you wanted to go last, because I think that was what's the story about? Because that's another way to get to stakes and why. So can we talk about that now, Allison?
Let's do. Yeah, I think we've gone through all of them anyway. I think stakes was also on the list. So I think I'm looking at my list right now just because I'll forget if I'm not staring at it. So, and yeah, this is
where I like to tell the story about what happened to me at my wedding. And I'm going to do it, Allison, because it's a very good example. We have time.
I know, but I almost cannot hear. I have to take off my headphones. I cannot hear this.
Okay, Allison's going to take off her headphones. And I'm going to, this is the kind of confidence Allison gives me right before I'm trying to tell a story, but I'm going to go for it anyway. And you guys tell me if this story was a fucking bore or if there were stakes high enough for you. Okay.
Wait,
So-
can I interrupt real quick? Can you tell the chicken story, the chicken joke? Because I cannot handle not being here without the chicken joke, because that's the other one I always complain about.
Now?
Okay, sorry. Do it after why. We'll get there. Sorry. Tell your story. I'm sorry. This is what we do all day long. How do we manage
sweating now?
I'm sorry. Go.
This is how
Tell
our
your story.
podcast goes. It's so hard. Okay.
I'm not bowing out, Harper. Okay, go.
Okay. So I was in the this is the not stakey version of what happened at my wedding. While I was telling my vows, my uncle, who was 80 years old.
Wait, I think you should tell the stakes one first.
Really?
Why not? Because then you're going to blow the story. We're going to know it. Yeah, keep us in suspense and then tell us the other one. All right, whatever. Do whatever you want.
First of all, telling a story is hard, and telling a story just out of the brain is also, I'm a little nervous right now. And now Alice is telling me to like rearrange my whole thing. Like, shush. Okay, listen. So this is what happened. When I was in the middle of telling my vows at my wedding to my wife, my uncle, who's 80 years old, dropped. We thought he was going to drop dead. Like he dropped down to the ground. We thought he was dead. And the ambulance came. Like, I mean, it was a scary moment. He went to the hospital. At that moment, my dad was like, wedding goes on. I mean, it was like a weird, scary thing. And after my wedding, like I told a ton of people, like, oh my God, you won't believe it. Like my uncle died and then came back to life in the middle of my vows, in the middle of my wedding. And all these people were like, you gotta write that. You gotta write that story. And I was like, well, why? Like, what's the story? What is he lived, like he died and came back to life and then he lived. Okay. But I thought about it for a long, long time because it was a dramatic moment. But a dramatic moment that's just a dramatic moment is really just a dramatic moment. It's the kind of thing that you tell your friends, not Allison, but you tell your other friends that this happened. But a story has to have stakes and it has to have like a reason that you're telling the story. So if you don't know this about me, I'm someone who like enjoys attention. And I might even be a little bit extreme in that regard. And I've literally written a whole book called No One Knows I'm Famous, because it's kind of a bummer for me that no one knows I'm famous. So then I started thinking about what happened during that moment at my wedding. Like, why does it matter to me? And I'll tell you that I prepared for months for to do my vows. I wrote them in English and in Spanish. This was the speech of my life. And while I was like looking into my wife's eyes, telling her, I mean, and I'm saying it was the story of my life. It was like the moment that I had to shine. Like Allison, okay.
Keep it going. We're bored already. Get to the end.
Okay. So while I was like getting to this, like the quintessential like moment in my vows, I could tell that my wife wasn't even listening. And then I could feel that no one was listening. And then I looked out and there was like a hive of shit going on. And oh my God. And then I saw what happened. And I was fucking bummed. Like this guy stole my show. Okay.
So let's talk really quickly about situation and story here, because this is perfect. Go for it.
It's your turn.
Oh,
Go
me?
on.
Okay. So what is the situation and what is the story? And what I think happens to a lot of people is they get caught up in the situation and they forget that it has to be an actual story. Otherwise, like it's, you're at a cocktail party and somebody tells you about this really bad day. And what? And because of what? We want to know how this situation has impacted you and your life.
Right.
So that's what Andrea did, the narrator. That's what the narrator did when she tells us why it bothered her so much. I mean, here's this man who dropping dead kind of trumps vows. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Right.
So
I
it's
want to
really
get back to something that I
Yeah.
learned very recently from Noah Michelson. So what I did so far is I took the situation and I elevated it a little bit and made it a story that mattered to me because I'm someone who wanted attention. Attention was taken away from me. Bummer. Bummer though, but not so bad. But what I learned, we interviewed Noah Michelson, who is the editor at Huffington Post, and he's coming on our podcast in a few months. And he gave me a new way to think about stakes and a new way to think about what is the story about. And he said, how would someone reading this story who didn't have this experience, what would they learn or what would they take away? And I'm like, oh my God, that's like a new way to think about how do you make this story matter to someone else? So
Yeah.
I learned something or I experienced something, but what will the world see? And I think that I have to, and it makes the narrator, it makes me in this case, like really think. And another thing happened to me that was happening to me during my wedding, which was the whole night, people were telling me that I look like Marilyn Monroe. And I was like, damn, I am the hottest woman dead or alive. Like, I really thought that. I am a movie star. I was like, this was going on in my head. Like, I thought I looked good, but like, whoa, I look good, you know? And then when we gathered everybody back and I finished my vows and still no one was listening, we were outside, we were outside, there was like all this wind and this wind blew up and literally my dress blew up like the same exact way that Marilyn Monroe's dress blew up on top of the grates.
Did we talk about tangents? Because I am so bored.
I know.
You are on
Okay.
a tangent. Oh
I'm
my
on a
God.
tangent, but the tangent did something to me. It made me realize, wait, I'm wearing the same dress as her. Wait, I'm a mere mortal. I'm not Marilyn Monroe. And it brought me to reality. And it also made me see that like something bigger than my need for attention was going on here. Like it helped me grow up in that moment. And I think that's the thing that someone would take away who didn't go through this experience. That like, even on your wedding night, even if you think you are the queen of the world, the sexiest person dead or alive, you are not. You are just a regular person. And someone dying, that trumps all of that. That's why I went on that tangent.
Okay, so
Thank you for
tangents
listening.
have to serve your story. So in this case, maybe it did, but it took a lot. And I think I would omit a lot of needless words in there because as you see, my attention span is almost down to zip. So make sure that you're reading these stories out loud to people before you submit them. This is like our number 11. After all the 10 tips, please read your stories out loud. You can get an idea of what's going on. Even when you say it yourself, you'll hear like this boring run-on of nonsense and you'll be like, okay, that's
Please
not
write in the chat if that was boring. I can handle it. I want to know. Because if I teach this again and use that example, let me know. I can shrink it down if it's too long.
Yeah, I don't think the Marilyn Monroe part matters. Like you could have sped that one up.
All right.
Whatever.
I think it's fascinating.
Great energy. Who doesn't
Seriously.
like to see a fight? Well, listen to the podcast because this is it all the time. Like we have kind of a script when we go into it because we want to not miss anything. But our poor audio editor, Matt Kundle of Sound Off Media, is production company, is like, oh God, poor guy has to absolutely listen to all this and be like, cut.
Yeah,
cut,
there's
cut.
a lot of cutting going on post-production.
See,
for our
somebody said
podcast.
only slightly. She's being nice. You
Don't
can be rude.
not boring to me. Thank you, Rosa, but I can handle it. Okay.
Okay,
please
so
stop talking about your wedding already. All right, we're done.
Yes,
my wedding's over.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, that's another thing about art. It's subjective.
It
But
is.
I probably went on too long. I hear you. Okay. What else? What's next?
So how do people find the difference between or in their own writing situation and story? Because I really think, and you know what we didn't talk about is how to end. Should we do that before we get into because that's part of situation and story. So do you want to talk a little bit about ending?
6 minutes left. I mean, I like ending on a scene. I like ending where the narrator like walks into the sunset in some way and shows you their growth or shows you that they've made it.
Or
Some
not.
publications like it when you literally say, and this is what I learned. So
You
it
have to know your
depends
publication.
where you have to know your publication. Get yourself into a writing group is our number 11.
And
read your story out loud.
Tom Donkey.
What?
Oh my God, my dog. Okay, I'm shutting myself off while you talk.
Oh, end on a dildo. And just okay.
Nice.
All right.
That's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. The thing, I just think the takeaway here is really do a lot of editing, but don't kill your voice. But really, really try to understand what your story's about. Because if you don't know, we don't know. And then if it doesn't land well, I'm so mad that I have just wasted however much time going through this. And
so once you figure out what your story's about, then you can omit needless words. You can omit paragraphs. You can omit, the entire Marilyn Monroe dress, maybe. Probably not, but maybe. Once you know where you're going. But it takes getting to the end of your story and doing a lot of rewrites and redrafts.
I think the best way to get to the end is to ask yourself, why are you writing this story now? Why? Why is this important? What are you trying to say? And that helps to take out all the unnecessary stuff and help you see a scene and where you've come to in your story. So that's a super, super helpful way of how to end. Thank you, Kathy, for asking that question.
Please write your name and where you're from and your email in the chat. And we will invite you to First Draft and to our next tips clinic. Everyone wants to see the dog, Allison. Does anyone have, do people have, oh, cute. Do we have time for questions?
He's chasing the squirrels. That's why he's so crazy. Yeah, the cutest dog ever, right?
Very cute.
A cocky weenie. Oh, I love it.
Cocky weenie? We like cocky weenies.
Yeah.
Yes, but that goes
but not
back
weenie cocks.
That goes back to make yourself the biggest asshole in your story. Like,
a weenie cock or a cocky weenie?
Cocky. I think she sounds cocky. Is that what she meant?
I don't know.
It's okay. You want to sound less good. You want to admit your insecurities. You
want to say the thing that you don't want to say.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. I think Ann Hood said that. Say the thing you don't want to say. That's the thing you have to say in a story, or else it's not worth anyone's time, including yours, the writer. Writing is so that you can get to something that you need to get to. It's like working out your shit. We say that all the time, and it really is. That's how we say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we always welcome comments. We love criticism. We also love praise, but we prefer criticism because we want to get better and we want to give you what you need.
We don't prefer criticism.
I know you're weird. Yeah.
We like praise, but we're open to criticism.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. And if anyone has any questions, please come to our writing groups. The first class is always free. And we will send you the link. And it's an awesome group of people that come to write. And the only way to get better is practice and feedback, giving feedback and getting feedback. 100%. And I'm just so grateful to Tom and to Jason and to the Mighty Blaze and everyone who has made this possible. Ooh, I'm getting gonged.
You guys are getting gonged. I'm Jenna Blum from the Mighty Blaze, and I am gonging you guys off. And I'm going to go upstairs and find my dildo in one hand and in the other. Like, you girls have kicked this conference off with a bang. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This is the most hilarious, saltiest, best way, and also like substantive way to start the day. So thank you for all of the eggplant emojis I was able to use in the chat and on Twitter, like made my life. And guys, please stay tuned for the next panel, which is research, which obviously will also have a lot of dildos in it.
Oh, yeah.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to Writing Class Radio. They are the best.
Thank you, Jenna. And come join us at 1.